Hello and welcome to Default Assault. I am your host, Demosthenes, and this here is my awesome partner, Mr. Kyle Nash. How's it going?
Ready to take on everything by default.
I speaking of that, I just couldn't resist. We're sitting down. We're just about to do our regular Default Assault episode recording, and I came across this headline. And Kyle, we've talked about ill-fated reboots on this show quite a number of times. We even talked about my personal favorite, that the fact that this exists, the reboot,
Yes.
which did horribly with fans and critics, from what I understand. I saw a couple of minutes of it, and I live in this universe. This exists, and I feel sorry about it. But I saw this other headline about an upcoming reboot from our childhoods. Or at the very least, Warner Brothers is seeking a writer to possibly get this done. My friend, they're talking about rebooting and bringing...
Duck.
What?
Darkwing Duck.
Not Darkwing Duck. No, I'm sorry. That we would have a celebratory episode.
We would have a celebratory episode. I would have friggin' bubbly in my hand for that shiz.
This, I'm not quite entirely certain how you're going to react. They're talking about bringing back ALF.
That's not as bad as it sounds, but let me tell you why. That could go either way. If you were going to bring him back, I would have brought him back more in, let's say, like the late 90s, early 2000s, where TV was getting edgier. You know, ALF had the humor back then in the 80s when they brought him out as kind of what a late night talk show host was then, like a Johnny Carson, a David Letterman type. Snarky, but still, you know, family friendly, like, you know, Steve Martin or some that kind of guy. I can't place the comedian perfectly off of whom ALF is modeled, but those are the kind of ilks. Like an older guy that would tell jokes that would appeal to older guys, but an alien that would still be cuddly and something that could be sold to children. I'm almost feeling like I'm in the pitch room for when they pitched ALF in the first place. But I'll say this about that. Them rebooting this, I got to tell you, not the worst thing in the world. I've heard much worse. This is nothing them to thinking rebooting Thundercats was a good plan or anything like that. This could be done right. Here's the reason why it won't. They will inevitably make it entirely too political. They'll try to model it, the main character ALF, after Roger from friggin' American Dad, and it's going to tank.
And this trend lately of babyfying everything.
Well, right. I'm even taking that aspect off the table. Listen, Thundercats was a garbage show back then, and I didn't realize it until I tried to watch it 10 years later. I'm like, good God, I thought this was a good plan. I had a lot of time to kill when I was a kid.
I was never really into it myself.
I wasn't. It was just on before the show I actually liked, which actually turned out to be a bigger piece of shit than Thundercats when I watched it later.
What was it?
Remember the Silverhawks?
Oh, God.
Copper Kid was my shiz, son. You better know it.
ALF, for me, you're right. It's in the execution. I think that for a little bit of time, they even had him in the spinoff where he was a talk show host. For me, it kind of depends on, it's like I said, it's the execution, but I hope they bring back Paul Fusco, the original voice. He was ALF. The personality and that distinctive voice is that character.
Yes.
They're married. You can't, if you're going to redo it without him, then you might as well call it something else.
Might as well call it Flaw.
Flaw. I mean, ALF was...
Flaw if they had a different voice. Huh? Yeah.
ALF was E.T. with wise-ass vocabulary.
E.T., what do I... Look, E.T. says kiss my ass. It's Flaw. I mean, ALF.
So, I mean, if they bring him back, I might be open to giving it a try, as long as it's a puppet. I don't want to see any CG abomination of ALF.
That's a great point by you, Demos. They either have to make it animated, which for a short time, I believe it was on NBC, had a Saturday morning cartoon called ALF Tales, where ALF would reimagine different fairy tales and things like that, which was cool enough. I know ALF had a huge thing where I believe it was a Burger King toy. It could have been McDonald's, I don't know, but they were giving away ALF dolls from ALF Tales in the meals back in the day.
He had an animated show. He may have had a talk show or a guest host in a talk show. He had a movie. I think there's an ALF cinematic universe out there somewhere.
Jesus. Melmac. Did Melmac get impacted by Thanos? I just don't know.
Oh God, there we go. Howard the Duck. Bring in ALF. I want to see ALF and Rocket Raccoon go toe to toe.
You know that would be tied.
I'd pay to see it.
Whoa, you're the main case for gun control.
I want to see a big screen adaptation of Waiting for Godot with ALF and Rocket Raccoon.
Hey, listen, I thought the main thing for gun control was a cute line, and you had to go jump the shark.
Well, I had to go. This is a high class show, Kyle. So, so can I say
when we compare Sophie's Choice to the benchwarmer?
So can I conclude and say we're very cautiously optimistic, possibly?
I'm not far enough to say cautiously optimistic. All I'm declaring is that's not the worst idea they could have had. We've thought of worse. I mean, hell, we led with the reboot. That should tell you plenty.
I concur. Well, make sure to catch me and Kyle right here on Default Assault every week, where life is hilarious by default.